All right, welcome to the session. Today we'll be covering a few new topics, something we haven't done before. I want to firstly focus on Firebase functions, and I'll kind of show how those will work and why we need them. Specifically, I want to enable my user to have admin privileges. So we'll be also going into things like authentication and claims. If you were following how we implemented authentication and admin control in the website, if I log in with my user and I go to the calendar page, I should be able to see the plus button if I have an admin claim set to true. Something we did a few sessions ago, and my account doesn't have that. And I didn't find a way of like manually setting a claim through the Firebase UI. So we'll write a function that will execute, it will run, and it will basically what it will do is assign an admin role to a user that makes the request. So yeah, we'll probably be focusing on that today. And if we get that done fairly quickly, I want to look into the provider package, the context package for React, and refactor our code a bit, make sure we, instead of passing a lot of props for the theme and the theming, we will use a theme provider, and we already have a component that's called that. But I want to actually use the package and make the code look a bit better. So yeah, that's the plan. And yeah, I'll start from creating our functions. So I haven't done this in a while. In order to, I'm gonna kind of give a short overview of Firebase functions. So Firebase functions are just, you can think of them as simple code bits, simple functions that are running in the cloud that you can host and access. So here's the tab that will be responsible for that. Yes, I will need to upgrade the project because functions are, there is a free tier, but if you exceed the tier, it's going to charge your payment plan. Nothing crazy. There's like, you need millions of invocations to even have $1 built off of your account. But they still require us to do this. So yeah, I'm gonna switch to this to a Blaze plan and set up Firebase functions. So you can see that I need to have Firebase tools installed globally. Actually, probably something I want to include in the README. I don't think I mentioned Firebase tools at all. Oh no, I do. Yeah, so installing Firebase tools is essential. And we want to Firebase init, Firebase deploy. We've already done this to host the website in one of the first sessions, but what Firebase deploy also does is deploys the functions that you define in your app, which is also crucial. Okay, let's finish this. And it's waiting for the first function to be deployed. So in order to enable functions in our repo, I need to run Firebase init again and select Firebase functions to include. So I'm going to run Firebase init. run this in a bigger window. Here we go. I'm going to select functions, hit enter. We're using JavaScript, so it's going to be fine. Do you want to use ESLint to catch probable bugs and enforce style? Actually, it's probably select no, because ESLint is still in the works for the main app as well. Do you want to install dependencies 1 p.m. now? Yes, I do. All right, so this will create a functions folder for us. And it's basically like a sub repository within our project. You can see that it has its own node modules folder, its own gitignore, package JSON, package lock. The things it installs is basically Firebase admin and Firebase functions. So Firebase functions is a library to access functions, hooks and whatnot. Then Firebase Firebase admin is the library that enables you to access some restricted areas in Firebase, for instance, modifying user claims. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm thinking right now, here's like a simple, very simple function. Maybe I just uncomment this and run and see how it feels. Just to explain what functions are. Actually, I might just open these docs here. So we can still set up emulators. I think we will need to include functions in a separate init step. But what I'll do is I'll run this function locally. And you'll see that I can access an endpoint and actually view the message. So let's do npm run emulate, run Firebase emulator start. Let's see if it picks up functions. Oh yeah, the following emulators are not running. To these services from the functions emulator will affect production database. Sub storage. Oh no, never mind. Functions are running. So let's go to this URL, and this will just open up localhost functions here. And you can see that it says that HTTP function initialized. Here's our function URL we can go to. And if I just open this in my browser, we should see hello from Firebase. That's the message that we're sending here. So once again, just to kind of going over what this is, if anybody is familiar with Express or other HTTP API frameworks and libraries, you'll kind of feel that this will feel familiar. You have your request object, your response object, and you can manipulate them and return some data, handling a very simple HTTP request. So yeah, that's pretty much what functions are. And there are different types of functions. So you can see that it's functions.https. There are other types of them. So for example, let me see if I can find some. There are storage functions, there are pub/sub functions, there are Firestore functions. And these are just, these define when the function will run. So for example, HTTP on request means that it will run whenever you go to this route, to the route hello world. So the route is defined by the name of the function. if I were, and I want to stop here and think which function do we want to develop. But you could potentially write functions that would listen on document updates whenever there is a document created for a specific collection. You want to trigger a function, maybe update the document and so on. And I'm talking about Firestore, of course. There are function triggers on users being created. So all sorts of things you can do, not only accessing functions through HTTP calls. Sorry. Okay, so this is good, but I don't want it to just be a pure HTTP function, because potentially it is kind of a vulnerability. The thing is that I could expose the URL somewhere, and then anybody knowing your username, knowing their user ID, could give them an admin permission to do something, right? Which I don't want that to happen. So maybe that will happen like manually through calling. Maybe it would be actually like Firestore hook, I suppose we can do. I'll need to think about it. Well, maybe for now we leave it as HTTP just to write the functionality of adding the claim. And later on, I'm going to switch when the function runs. So we don't have anything shady going on. Okay, so what do I want to do? So whenever we go to hello world, I think the very basic functionality is like, I want a query param of ID. I will enter the ID of the person I want to give the claim to, and I'm going to modify the claim of that person. So for example, here we have a user and an admin user. And what differentiates them is that here we have a claim of admin equal to true for the admin, and for the user, the claims are empty. So what I want to achieve is give my function this ID, and then the function would modify the claims of the user, and actually assign the admin role to him. So okay, we want to have, first of all, I'm going to rename this function. I'm going to call it something like make admin. Next, I'm going to dispatch the ID from the request. And I think I can just deserialize it, or sorry, destructure it from my request. So I think it's something resembling the structure request. Let's see. I think it's query. Yeah. And then we can say, hey, if ID is equal to null, then actually maybe we handle this in a more generic case. So yeah, let's see how we can modify a user and set its claim, modify its claim. I think we'll need to use the admin package. I'm going off of my memory. At some point, I'll go into the docs and verify this. So Firebase admin auth. Let's see what methods are on this. Auth is a function. Create custom token, create a new Firebase custom token that can be sent back to the client service device to use to sign in with the client SDK, not something really we want. Is there anything about claims? Yeah, set custom user claims. So it's additional developer claims on an existing user identified by the provided UID. Typically used to define user roles and levels of access. Exactly what we're doing. We're modifying the admin role on the user. These claims should propagate to all devices where the user is already signed in after token expiration or when token refresh is forced, which I'm actually doing. I'm forcing token refresh. Might not be ideal, actually. Might want to modify that because you don't want to refresh your token each time, but I was doing it for development. But yeah, I think it's the it is the method that we want. So the UID is actually, let me call this UID, is the query param, and then it accepts an object of custom user claims, which I just want to set admin as true. That's pretty much it, I think. No logs here, I don't think. So I want to try doing this because I think it might fail. Actually, we'll see when it fails, how it fails. Probably going to fail with a 500. And then response. Let's see if I can like send 200s. Send status of 200. Cool. That's a very simple method, right? We get the UID from the query. We set the custom user claim of admin to true and then respond with a status of 200. I think, yeah, my emulators are complaining. I'm going to restart them to be safe. And I'm going to start my app and test if I can assign my user to be an admin. So let's see, npm start. So with the things that they are in the state they are right now, I think I won't be able. Oh, right. I'm on a different branch. Let me. Sorry about this. I'm gonna check out. A different one. And let's say this is feature functions. So what I expect is I won't be able to see the plus button to create an event if I'm a user, just a regular user. And I will be able to change that if I hit the endpoint that we just created. So let's see that in action. Let this load for a second. Cool. Okay, let's go to our calendar. I'm not logged in, so that's fine. I want to log in, and I want to log in as viewer. I don't know why these are not updated. I'm like expecting these to be user and admin. but I know that viewer is the user. So here, I'm still not able to see a plus button. If I log out and log in with the other user, I should be, because that user is an admin and has the admin role. So let's switch back to my viewer. And I want to make this user an admin. So let's go to my make admin route, and I'm going to provide ID as the ID of the user. Cool. So make admin. Oh, and it's UID, right? So pretty straightforward. We're hitting this, and let's see what it says. Okay. The default app, Firebase app, does not exist. Make sure you call initialize app before using any of the Firebase services. Firebase app error. There's error constructor. Okay. So this happened because I think I'm using Firebase admin, and I'm not calling initialize app. Yeah, there's something I need to provide. I don't know necessarily if I need to provide anything in here. I don't know if I need to use emulators. Let's reference docs and see if this is required. Security roles, extensions, emulator suite. Cloud Firestore, Cloud Functions emulator. Get functions, get app, connect functions emulator. So this is from the client, I assume. Yeah, I mean, maybe this is just enough. Like initialize app is enough, I hope. I don't know if admin will operate on like production stuff or not. That's the thing. What is available in here? Storage bucket, service account, credential, agent, database URL. Okay, well, I hope this is automatically pointing to my emulators, but let's try. Let's restart this. Cool, we're good. Let's hit this again. Hey, yeah, that's better. We got an OK. So hopefully it worked. Let's refresh this page and see what we get for our user. Hey, look at that. We get admin is true. Here's our custom claim. And I think if I refresh and log in, hey, look at that. We get the plus button. Cool. Okay, so we have a way of changing a user to an admin. And that's great. So I think I'm going to commit here and modify and think more about things like vulnerabilities and security. Okay. Select another window. functions. Make admin role signable. Cool. So the issue with this is that if I publish this function right now, any of you could hit this URL, and if you know your user ID, you could modify your role and become an admin. And that's a pretty significant vulnerability. I don't want to expose that. What I want to do instead is probably listen on Firestore changes, because not like the Firestore database is not easily changeable, right? Like you can only change it through the UI, and that means that only I have access to it, all the admins have access to it. And if it's like from somewhere outside, it's an unauthorized, it's an authorized request. So it's pretty good protection, I think. We can also reinforce it with Firebase rules to make sure, Firestore rules, making sure it's not modifiable. So why not? I'm going to show how it works anyway, and we'll see how this is being triggered. Before I do it, I'm going to create another route saying like remove admin, and we're probably going to incorporate both of them into one. So remove admin. It's going to do the exact same thing, but it's going to set it to false. Cool. Now, instead of using HTTPS functions, I'm now going to be using Firestore triggers. And instead of on request, I'm going to be listening on a document change. So first, I need to specify which document I want to listen to. I want to listen to a document under, I'm going to call my collection admins. And it's going to be whenever a document is going to be created here with a user ID. Oh, shoot, I completely forgot to test the bed path, kind of developing this function. Before I do all of this, I want to test what happens if I provide a false UID. So this is just gibberish. Will this even run now? Okay, this is possibly broken because of the emulator suite. Let me rerun this again. Ooh, so this happened because the port is taken. And is that the same port we were running the app on? I don't believe that, right? Because we're running on 3000. I think there is a hanging process. Yeah. So it's complaining because port 8080 is not open on localhost. And I think it's because my function is still executing, like I just left it in a weird state. So this needs some Linux magic because I'm on Linux. So I'm going to do lsof-i and then column number of ports. So will give me everything that's running on this port right now. And let's see which process I want to kill. Probably the Chrome one, right? I'm going to copy this PID and then kill -9 PID. There's some Java stuff running, which I don't really care about. Let's try npm emulate again. Still. That's interesting. Let's. Oh, okay, so it's the Chrome process again. Let me kill everything. Yeah, I want to kill all the processes. Nothing running on AT80. npm emulate. Okay, that's better. I think so. Let's see if this will work. Yeah, okay. That's better. Oh yeah, this needs to be HTTPS still. I think that's why I was hanging, like I didn't have the right code here. Okay. Let's look up our emulators. I restarted the server, so make admin our user should still not have the admin role. So let's provide UID of some gibberish and see what happens. Huh, we actually resulted in okay, so this doesn't throw, seems like. Like it just doesn't set the custom user claim, I'm guessing. So we go to authentication and we go to user. Yeah, our claim is still empty. So I kind of wonder if, is there anything? Oh, it's also a promise. Set custom user claims. Oh, that's probably why. We are returning before the promise completes. Typically used to define user roles. If reserved twice, the claim name is used, an error is thrown. Set authentication user's ID token GWT. Never doesn't say that the user's ID should be valid. Promise that resolves when the operation completes successfully. Okay, well, first of all, I want to convert this function to an async function and actually await our set custom user claims, because I think that's more appropriate. Secondly, I want to try it again because I don't think our OK is fully correct. Here we go. There is no user record corresponding to this provided identifier. That's the error that I was expecting. So it's fine. It's like throwing an error with like a good call stack. We could convert it to a try catch to just be a bit more nice about it. So you can say try doing this, then catch an error and respond status 400, send error message, I think it is. We'll see. Yeah, there is no user record corresponding to this provided identifier. That's great. We can also provide a nice message here saying status 200, send user is now an admin. Then if I provide my user ID, we'll say that the user is now an admin. Cool. Okay, this works. Now I want to convert this to a Firestore function. So we want Firestore, and we want to select which document do we want to trigger on. I want to trigger on admin/admin ID, or rather UID. It's going to be the ID of the document. And then I'm going to select, you have an option of selecting which trigger do you want on creation of a document, on deletion, update, or on write. Write is like any of the above, except delete. I think write is create or update. I might be wrong. Creates, updates. Actually, no, creates, updates, and or deletes, all three. So we want write because I think I want, maybe we still split it like on create, on delete. Or we do on write, not to have two functions. Let's do on write. So if we select on write we'll expect a function with a change and a context. I'm going to go and explain what each one of those means, change and context. So change is how did what changed when we modify the document? The change will contain two options. Those are before and after. And that's the state of the document. You can see that it returns a document snapshot saying how did the document look before the change and after the change. So we want to set admin to true if before the change the document didn't exist. I want to remove it if it did. Or sorry, we want to remove the admin claim if after the change the document doesn't exist, right? So I'm going to say that it was created, so doc created if change before exists is false, and doc deleted is change after exists is false, right? I'm not missing anything special here, right? Yeah, so if after the change the document doesn't exist, that means that the document was deleted. If before the change the document didn't exist, that means that it was created. Pretty straightforward. Okay, so instead of getting UID off of our request query, we don't have a request anymore. That's where the context comes in. So context, it will need, we'll have a params object. And here we can just grab UID because I've specifically said here that UID will be used as like this placeholder for the ID of this document. Okay, let's keep going. Want to await set custom claims is the same. I do want to say that there's going to be 3 cases. Either if it's created, I want to set admin to true. If it's deleted, I want to set admin to false. If neither of them is true, I don't want to do anything. So I'm going to check if it was doc created or deleted. I'll say that admin is whether it was, so it was either one or the other, and I can check one of them and say that let's say it's going to be doc created. If it's created, then it's true. If it's not created, that means that it's deleted. So admin is false. Otherwise, I'm going to do nothing. And in here, I'm going to return. I don't think I need to return anything. Let's check the docs for Firestore functions, but I don't believe I do. Cloud functions, trigger background functions, cloud Firestore triggers. So you can see there is on write, on create. Does it say anything about returning? Each function location is associated with a specific document in the Cloud Firestore database. You can access that document as a document reference ref. Returns from your function, that's fine. Return a promise of a set operation to update the count. So I think we just need to return null. Anytime you write the same document, return your function. Yeah, you can see that they are returning something here. They are returning like operation. Because I think if you don't return anything, it's not going to even succeed. Instead of doing like returning a string, I'm going to log the string in my logs. So there's some feedback going on, but I'm not going to return it from the function. Let's see if there are examples of logging, because I think previously you could do just console logs, which still works, but there is a better way of doing it now. Let's just search for it. Firebase functions. Logging. While the cloud function logger is recommended for most situations, you might choose one of the other options. You have an existing code base. Prefer not to refactor from console log. You're familiar with cloud logging. Prefer to use, yeah, so you can see that the console log will still work. But I think this is what's preferred. Functions logger log. Then we can say that user is now admin. I can even interpolate the UID if I want to. User UID is now admin. Now, if the doc was not created or deleted, which actually means that it was updated, I'm going to just log out saying no action was taken. Admin document updated. Actually, I might not even just log that because I don't see the value in it. Okay. And if something went wrong, I want to just say that something went wrong, just like e message, and maybe e as object, I think that's permitted. Let's make this better, saying like something went wrong while updating an admin. Here's the message that we got. And here's the error. Cool, and we don't need this anymore. Okay, if whatever I did was right, and yeah, we also don't want to forget returning null. We want to test if this works. Let's see how it looks. Okay, in the logs, let's see, maybe I'll need to restart my emulators again. Okay. I'm actually kind of surprised. I was hoping to see some message saying that there was a function created. Well, let's see if this works. So our authentication is still user has no claims because I just restarted the server. I'm going to go to Firestore and create a new collection called admins. And I forgot the user ID, so I'm just going to keep this. It will throw an error, and I hope to see that error. I don't care what is in here, actually. Like, I don't care of the values of this. Let's see. So we have admins, we have a document, has some fields, and that should have triggered our function. Let's see if that worked. So go to logs. And okay, hey, here is the beginning of execution US central make admin. And we got a message saying something went wrong while updating an admin, which, yeah, I mean, that's weird wording, but fine. Here's the ID that we tried to update, and then an error saying there is no user record corresponding to the provided identifier, which is expected, that's fine. So let's see if we have a happy path working. So I'm going to actually copy this user ID and try creating an admin with this user ID. Okay, we're good. Let me go to my logs. Hey, user blah, blah, blah is now an admin. Now, if I go to my authentication tab and check out the claims, here's my admin true. So this works perfectly. Now, a cool thing is that if I delete the document, I should be given, my claim should be given away. So let's test that. Delete this document. Here's a trigger. Oh, this is not really good. We want to change the message. The message is saying it's an admin in both cases. But now if I go to authentication and I look into here, admin is false. So that's great. Yeah, we want to say conditionally if doc was created, it's gonna say is an admin. If it wasn't created, is now a regular user. Cool. Okay, I mean, 1853, I'm gonna just commit and probably make myself an admin. I don't think we'll get to context of provider, but I'm actually happy we spent so much time on functions. I think it's a valuable concept. So, okay, let me commit and deploy this function, and we'll see it in action when I'm going to try it in production to do it on my user. And hopefully that works. Okay, so I'm going to Control-C out of this. I'm going to commit this saying change function trigger. And I'm going to run a command that will deploy only functions. So it's very important to understand what you are deploying, because if you just run Firebase deploy, it will deploy your website and all of your functions, which is most of the case, it's not what you want. Sometimes you just modify one function and you want to deploy just that function. So I think I can say Firebase deploy and then -- only. I think, yeah, Firestore rules, functions. Okay, so you can say, let me remove this as well. Firebase deploy -- only. And you can either say functions or functions colon the function name that you want. In my case, it's just going to be all the functions. And I think it's going to take a couple of minutes to deploy as well, because it needs some time to warm up. While it does it, I'm going to just demonstrate that it doesn't work for me as an admin. And hopefully that will change. So this is localhost. I want to go to my production. Here's my production website. And you can see that I'm logged in and I don't have the plus button. That's what I want to change. I want to become an admin so I can create events. Like we added functionality to add events. We also have a PR in flight to delete them. But we didn't have, prior to today, we didn't have functionality to make users admins, right? So, I mean, this is still deploying, so we'll wait until this is done. But what I essentially want to do is take my user ID, go to Firestore database, start a collection, and add my document. I'm not going to do it right now. Or maybe I'll just hold it as a placeholder. So collection ID is admins, and the user ID is my user ID. I mean, name can be anything. And we'll wait until this deploys, and hopefully it works. Okay, while that's happening, does anybody have any questions? Any concerns about what I was showing in today's session? Is it integrated with a GCP? Great question. Google Cloud Platform, interestingly enough, Firebase is actually a Google Cloud project. Let me show you what I mean by that. If I go to my cloud Google.com and I go to my console, I should be able to select my project here. Let's see. Yeah, GDC Conestoga. So whenever you create a Firebase project, it's actually a Google Cloud project. And Google Cloud has cloud functions as well. Like it's a thing. So it's just a different UI for the same thing. I think we should be seeing my function coming up here. Yeah, here's my make admin function. I can even read my source codes, I think, in here. Like there's lots of different things. This is much more in-depth UI than Firebase. If you're asking if it's integrated with other products of GCP, yes, there is, like, you can import libraries. For example, I have a project that has a Firebase function that integrates with Cloud Vision, and you send it a URL for an image, and it analyzes that image and provides some results. So it's a very nice way of kind of restricting the code. Do we need to manually create instances and link them, or are they interconnected automatically with Firebase? If you're talking about like instances of functions, they are already connected automatically. Like if I go to my Firebase, we'll see the same picture here. Here's my function. You can see that it's a trigger function. So it's a document. It will trigger whenever you create a document in your Firestore database. And yeah, it's connected with your project. It's connected with the database. Actually, let's kind of go and try it out. So here's my admin's collection, document ID. I think I've done everything right. Let's save. Okay, that seems fine. Let's go into our logs and check whether our function triggered. Okay. Function execution took some time. I don't see a message that would necessarily say that I'm an admin. It's more like a silent case, right? Because we do have a silent case when it's not created or deleted. Let's see. I'm actually not sure if this worked. No, it actually did. Yeah, we see the plus button. So yeah, I just created a document in production and made myself an admin. Like there's no easy way, I think, to do this through the UI. Like if I go to the authentication tab, there is no similar way to emulators to modify claims. So you need to go through this process of like doing this through code. You could either write your own script to do it through Firebase admin, or, which is an easier and much nicer way, just have a cloud function do this. Yeah, this is pretty much it. I mean, yeah, I'm not really sure why we didn't get that message, but seems to be working. I'm now an admin. I can create events. which is amazing. And I can add other admins in the future, right? Like if other people are managing the pub, I can add them. They could be admins in the system. Cool. Any other questions on this? All right, guys, it's 7:03. Pretty happy with how it turned out. We got everything that I was hoping for the functions part, not the context of provider, but that's going to come next time. But yeah, hopefully you've learned something today, and feel free to contribute to the website and comment in next time. So thanks everybody for joining. See you next time. Thank you.